Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wired Nerdy Podcast. This is season number 2, episode number 11. My name is Keith. I'm here with Doug. Doug, how is this week treating you, my friend?
Things are going good. Everybody, I believe, is getting ready for that big eclipse coming up.
Oh, that's right.
Still got to find me some glasses, but it's going to be a good week coming up. So,
I got to pick up some glasses tomorrow. I think that's my goal. I think I saw some at a local store. I'm going to snag some just because I
yeah,
want to check it out. Yeah, I forgot about them. I'm glad you brought up the eclipse.
yeah, definitely.
It's going to be exciting.
Other than that, I think we have a really good show today. I've been working, sending out some emails, checking some things, trying to get us some guests for the show. We got a twofer today. Two people coming on, really passionate about what they do. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be a good show today.
Oh, I am so excited about this because we just got done with the interview and it was a blast. It was so much fun. It's very wide ranging, very exciting. We'll have the introduction as to who they are here in a moment at the very beginning of that. But yeah, Doug did a really good job of lining this one up. So as a result, we're gonna skip the nerd news for this week. Don't worry, we're gonna make up for it. And we're gonna just dive right into the interview, and we'll just let that be the episode from there because it was such a great wide ranging. You know conversation that we had. Before we wrap that up, though, and we jump into that and the show will close out, we do want to remind everybody that we do have our merch store. You can see it. I finally got the baseball tee. I'm wearing it
Yeah.
here. I'm wearing the baseball tee for those of you.
Now, I have the baseball tee as well, but it's in the laundry. So,
Oh, you did. And I got my hat today, too. I
very
actually
nice.
finally bought a Wired Nerdy hat. Oh,
It
I
looks,
love it.
it looks good.
Dude, it's awesome. It's got like a leather patch on the front. I'll have it on the episode at one point. I'm getting ready for RetroCon. That's the next thing I say. We have
Yeah.
RetroCon coming up later this month, which is retro gaming convention. That where we work the booth, and then we also try to drum up some more audience members, and we'll do coverage of that, of course, too, because there's always really neat stuff there. And I think this year is going to be bigger than it was last year. It keeps growing.
Yeah, I think they've got 3 or 4 big time guests, are as big time as this little convention that's very steadily growing is going to be. So,
And they're also going to have an arcade section there where they
yeah,
didn't
it
before.
is definitely
Mhm.
expanding. I would
More
say,
panels. Mhm.
it's always been tight. They're going to have to think about a larger venue next year.
If it keeps growing. That's exciting stuff, though. So all
Absolutely.
that's coming later this month. We got a busy month. So without further ado, though, we're going to jump right into our wide-ranging interview with our two guests, and we're really excited about it. So here goes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 11. We are super excited to have guests with us for this episode. As you know, Doug and I do this every so often, where we pick somebody that'd be perfect for our community. And today we have with us Ron and Jamie Danuser, who are local artists and board game enthusiasts who are well known in the community for their innovative creativity. They also have founded a local event called RonCon, which has gained popularity among board game collectors. We are going to get into that, of course. And we're pleased to have them on the show, where we're going to delve into the details of RonCon. We're going to discuss their board game collection and talk about all of their different artistic creative projects that they've done. And ultimately, welcome to the show, guys. We are really thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much for taking time out.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Absolutely.
I got to start with the backgrounds. I know, Jamie, you pointed. Yours is actually real. I don't have a real
Oh,
background.
yeah.
You guys made those, right?
Ron did.
They look
Very nice.
awesome. They
Yeah.
look
Very
really,
cool.
really good. I love it, and that's some of the stuff we're going to dive into.
Great.
But we're gonna start with RonCon. Now, I have to admit something. I'm not on Facebook because I'm a weird I'm not on a lot of the social medias. But it wasn't until only recently did I realize that RonCon was a thing. Let's start with. What is it? Jamie, I'm going to start with you because I heard you're the genesis of this because it's tied into Ron somehow. So let's start with you, Jamie. What is RonCon and how did it come to be?
Absolutely. So RonCon is a day of gaming for our community. So we have games all the way from fun and silly, like Happy Salmon, all the way up to the more in-depth strategic games. I think we play Quacks of Quagmire, and we play D&D and Wingspan, and a little bit of everything. So it started as a surprise birthday party.
Oh,
Yeah. So Ron has always talked about how he would love to have people over to our house. And our house isn't huge. But he's like, we could have a table in the kitchen. We could have a table in the living room. We could have a table in the basement. We could have a table in our foyer. And we just have people over and you just go game wherever they want. And I'm like, yeah, our house is not big enough for that. So for his 50th birthday, I planned a surprise birthday party. It was 3 hours of gaming
Oh, wow.
at our local gourmet popcorn shop, GoPo. And so I invited friends and family, and I was like, hey, let's go to GoPo and, play some games. It wasn't on his birthday, so that helped with the surprise. And I was like, well, let's go upstairs, see how much room there is. Little did he know we had about 25 family and friends waiting upstairs, and we played game for 3 hours. It was a blast.
That is so awesome. And how long ago was that? How long have you guys been doing that?
So that was 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
We've done it for 3 years. We took 1 year off because of COVID, but it's gained in popularity every year. I think last year we had about 50 people. And then
wow.
this
Very
year
nice.
we had somewhere in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's growing steadily.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
To the
that's
point where
awesome.
we are outgrowing the second floor. And
That was my
at
next
one
question.
point, at one point we had the whole second floor full and the whole first floor full.
Very nice.
So,
So, yeah.
and Doug, I don't mean to step on you because I
No,
got to do
you're
a
good.
follow-up question. So do
Yeah.
most people so it's 3 hours. I'm pretty sure you can't get a D&D campaign in 3 hours, or can you?
Well, you can, but it started as 3 hours.
Okay, so what is
So
it now?
it is 10 to 5.
Whoa, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it is a day game. Yeah. And then we threw in some other things, like we have tournaments, we have other little things like side challenges and things. We have the high school D&D club in and sell pizza and sodas
So
and
cool.
things, so that helps their club. But yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And Ron, how surprised were you? Did you even see it coming at all?
She's got a great video of that. I was totally caught by surprise. Uh, she was rushing to get upstairs, like, no, we gotta stop and buy something first because we don't want to just look like freeloaders. And she's like, no, come on. So I trudged up the stairs and see all these people, including people from out of state that I've gamed with in other places. A few of them came in. I was just absolutely blown away. It was the most fabulous, fabulous thing.
That's
So yeah,
awesome. That's really cool. That's a really cool origin story for something like that.
yeah,
So, all
Absolutely.
right,
I think
Doug.
we
I've
actually
been
have a
hogging.
video of it on our
Oh,
Facebook page,
we're gonna find
because
it. We're
I
gonna
live
find it.
streamed
Yeah,
it as
definitely.
he walked up the stairs.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, we're gonna grab that. We'll find that footage up there. I want to see Ron's face surprised as
yeah,
he just wanted popcorn and you're dragging him upstairs.
yeah,
What's going on?
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Doug. I've been hogging him. Your turn, buddy.
No, you're good. I'm looking at the photos and it looks great. You have cosplayers and all these little miniatures, all this stuff that I assume that you made for the RonCon. I'm going through 2, 3, 4 different, or not 4 different years, 3 different years, but it looks like so many people are having so much fun. They get to express themselves. We always talk about people that are a little shy that go to the Kansas City Con, to our Retro Con in Columbia, and then I'm sure to the Ron Con in our little town. It gives an outlet for people to express themselves both through their clothing, their cosplay, and their board games. So it's
Yeah.
really cool that you all do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the cosplay idea. That's great.
Yeah, we had a costume contest for the last 2 years. So we buy games that we give away as prizes. And we have a group of people that judge. They get to parade through RonCon in their costumes, and I announce their names or their characters. And
Oh, that's really cool.
yeah,
That's so
we
cool.
kind of put everything on hold and let them be in spotlight for a minute.
That's so cool. Well, we're definitely going to be going now that I know about
Absolutely.
it.
Good.
If I
So
if
the
I could add
games
just a
that
couple of things about RonCon real
Please.
quick.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
so it's still kind of by invitation only. We haven't opened it up to the public yet, just because we don't know that we could handle that many people, and I'm kind of selective about who comes.
Yeah.
So
This is
what we
Ron
usually
telling us.
do
This is Ron telling us we're not invited. That's what
no,
he's
no,
saying.
no.
I get it. I get it. It's okay. It's okay. I can take a
You
hit,
guys
Ron.
certainly have earned an invitation for the next one. But usually
Sorry, go ahead.
we tell people that we know enjoy games, and then we say, if you know one or two people that you want to invite to come in, bring them along. As long as somebody knows who's coming, that's really all we care about. And
Yeah.
after the first year, um, I used to do a thing called a potlatch, which is a Northwest Indian tradition where on your birthday you give presents instead of getting presents to kind of secure your place in the tribe. And so I've always like given back. I think a big thing for me is sharing joy with people. I think this is a great way to share the joy of gaming and kind of bring a community together that you make new friends, you meet new people. Um, and so it's kind of our gift back to a community. And it doesn't cost anybody anything. We cover all the costs. We sell pizza and soda, but all that money goes to the Fulton High School D&D Club. So
Oh, that's so cool.
really,
So there's
really
a
great time.
yeah, there's a philanthropy element to it too. That's really awesome.
Mhm.
Wow, that's so cool. Well, I'm excited now that I have an official invite, but I guilted him into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
We'll check it out for sure. That's really awesome. All right, Doug, what else you got there, buddy?
Yeah. So board games, do you supply all the board games, or does this gourmet popcorn place have board games already for you to use?
All the games we bring in, but then we've also got a small group of friends that are into board games. And so we ask a few folks to bring a game, set it up, run it, and teach it. So a lot of it is um, Jamie sets up a really good schedule. People can look on the schedule, see who's teaching what, when it's going to be
Oh,
taught.
that's really cool.
Wow.
So that way, if there's a game on there that you feel a lot and you want to play, but you've never gotten into it, you can come there. They're very patient. They take the time. They teach you how to play it. So yeah, all the games that you see are probably 75% ours, and then the others are the few folks that we've asked to bring games in and teach.
To
Okay.
tag off of him, GoPo does have a large selection of games there
Okay,
that
GoPro,
people can
yeah.
go anytime and take games off their shelves and play. Generally, we bring our own. We do have some open tables so that if they don't see anything on the schedule that they're interested in, they can go downstairs. They can grab a game off the table. They can come up and game in one of our open tables.
Mhm. Very nice. So, how many board games do you say you would have at your house? My wife and I, tons of games. Keith, I'm sure you have tons of games, card games, but probably not as much as the creators of RonCon.
Yeah. So we actually got to the point where we were in the store and we'd be looking at games. And we're like, do we own this? I'm
Yeah.
not sure. We might own
Yeah.
this already. And I thought, well, that's a problem because I don't want 5 copies of the same thing. And
Well,
so,
no,
yeah. So I actually downloaded an app and we categorize all of our games.
That's
So that way we can keep track of them. We can look through what we have, but it also tells us how many we have.
Would you be able to look and see how many you have?
Ron, do you want to share this?
Yeah. It looks like we're currently at, oh gosh, let's go glasses. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
Looks like we're currently at 648.
Woo.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
Now,
is
is
awesome.
there a concern about space? I mean, that's a lot of games, and they're not small boxes usually.
We can always squeeze in a few more, but
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
A
the,
true collector answer.
yeah, the problem becomes when you tie in this hobby and that hobby and
Yeah.
the multiple hobbies, yeah, space does become a problem. And that's kind of part of the reason we're down here. We've taken a room in the basement, turned it into what's basically a medieval tavern parlor. We call it the parlor. And so we
Okay.
store a lot of the games down here, but then we also, when we play like a Dungeons and Dragons game, we like to really get a theme, immersion to it. So we can dim the lights, bring up all kinds of colored lights, and we've got
That's
torches that flicker on the wall.
So
But
cool.
yeah,
so cool.
space is an issue. Because part of the gaming that we do is tabletop role playing games, and I make lots of terrain pieces for that.
Mhm.
And some of
Yeah.
them are big, 3 foot by 3 foot pieces. And yeah, it becomes an issue.
So looking at over 600 games, is there one or maybe a couple that you want to talk about that you always go to? It's like, hey, it's Friday, Saturday, or a rainy
Right.
day. We're
What's
going
your
to go
favorite?
to this game just because we love it.
So I'd like to touch on that. So it depends on if we have friends over, if we're playing with our
Yep.
children, if it's just me and
That's fair.
him. Um, there was a short time that our washer and dryer broke, so we had to go to the laundromat, and we have a game that we always took to the laundromat. So you have an
Yeah.
hour or two, so we'd sit and play kind of the same game, mostly because I always win at that game.
Oh, competition here.
but, but so it really depends on the situation.
Very good.
Okay, good answer.
I've,
Ron, is
I've
that your
got
same answer? What about
yeah,
you?
I'm gonna throw one out. A game that we've only been playing for about a year, but it's a very simple kind of party game called Cockroach Poker. It's very easy. You can learn it in a minute. Uh, I like to brag that I'm the world's greatest player, but actually I'm the world's worst player. It's just such a fun game. I don't mind getting beat up all the time on it. But everybody seems to enjoy that one.
Well, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. So when it
And
comes
we
to
also
oh, go ahead, please. You also, yeah, go ahead.
we also teach at College for Kids in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
So we do a game on class. So it is everything gaming. So we introduce the
Very
kids
nice.
to tons of our games. We also help them build their own games and test play their own games. And one that very quickly became popular was Cockroach Poker because he lost so well. And the kids loved it. To the point where he actually made a little crown that said "World's Best Poker
That's so
Player,"
cool.
which was immediately stolen. He's never seen it again because he is not the best cockroach poker player. But yeah,
That's awesome. So when it comes to more the long form tabletop games, like the role playing games, have you both always been into them? Like, is this something that goes back to your youth, your adolescence, or is this something that you discovered in your adulthood? Like, what role has at least the role playing games and the tabletop games played in your lives? Starting with you, Jamie. We'll start with you.
so growing up, we used to have game nights, but it was like Monopoly,
Sure.
Shoots and Ladders, that type of thing. I didn't get into role playing games until I met Ron. So I met him my first day of work. We work together. We're fortunate enough that we get to go to work together every day. Um, and after, I don't know, 6 months maybe, then he started introducing me to different types of role playing games and different tabletop games. And that was awesome.
Very cool.
Mhm.
How about you, Ron? You've always been a role player?
So I fell in love with Dungeons and Dragons when it first became really popular about 1982.
So
Um,
this is before the fifth edition rules
oh
revised, right?
yeah, yeah. This goes way back. And luckily, I've kept all my books as I've progressed through different editions. I've kept all the books. So I fell in love with it deep and hard, and played for about 3 years when I was in middle school. And then I found girls, and Dungeons and Dragons went out the window.
Yeah.
It wasn't until after I graduated high school that I was working at my school, and I thought, man, I think these kids would love playing D&D. So I introduced the band, and kind of started picking it up back then, and been playing it ever since.
So you got reacquainted with it after the girls.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Well,
That's really cool.
like I say, also a big part of our gaming experience is that about that same time, my son was 10, and that's a great time to. We had played all kinds of board games, but at age 10 is a great time to introduce D&D. So he and I started playing, and then when Jamie and I started spending a lot of time together, the two of us and her two girls, when they were very young, started playing a similar role playing game called Adventure Maximus, which is family centered and pretty wacky, but a lot of fun. And so we basically raised our kids playing tabletop role playing games. And that's, we've still got memories that we cherish, all of us do. And every once in a while, I come back, hey, remember when you bribed that voodoo doctor with a stick of butter? And we all just crack up laughing. So
Yeah.
That's
lots of
awesome.
good times.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Have you all ever thought about making your own game? You know, such your artwork. I call it artwork. I know you're being humble, but these things, these creations you make are amazing. So, have you ever thought about making your own game, making your own sets and designs? Well, you make your own sets and designs, but your own game, I guess.
So yeah, I've kind of tinkered with the idea a little bit. Um, For like Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of people make what's called an adventure or a module, which is basically the story and has all the stats and everything that somebody can just pick up and kind of run for their group. I thought about doing some of those. Um, as far as props and stuff, I've even thought about opening like an Etsy shop for nowadays. A lot of high-end people are playing D&D, and D, and they've got rooms that are built for it. So I thought about trying to sell some shields, but really, the materials aren't expensive, but it just takes a lot of time. And to make any money off of it, you'd have to charge a lot of money. So,
Definitely.
so I love just making stuff and just giving it away to people.
Yeah.
Like I did a shield for the Fulton High School D&D club that we've been playing for half a year, and we keep track of every time somebody rolls a natural 20. And so just after Christmas, we took everybody's name and put it into a hat. And for each natural 20 you've rolled, you've got extra names in there. So we drew a name and I gave that shield to somebody. And we're doing just starting a thing. Friends of ours has a son that's 10 or 11.
11.
11. They just asked me to run a D&D party for them. And so did that, and they loved it. So I'm starting to build little packages that I can send to him that he can open one room at a time and pull out a little description. I have little paper minis that are cheap that I can mount and base and look really good. And then little props that go along with that. And then he can keep all that, but that gives him a way to play with his friends. And so really I just like building stuff and crafting stuff up and then kind of sharing it and casting it out into the world. So
That's really cool.
Very
That
nice.
is awesome. So let's talk about some of the creations that you both have been involved with. And I've got to start with Ron, the one that's personal to me. My oldest daughter, Leah, which we've had on the podcast because she was working at Disney not too long ago, and she gave us an inside look at what it's like to be a Disney cast member. She came to Ron quite a few years ago because Leah is well in her 20s now. And
yeah.
she said, I don't know if Mr. Danuser would do this for me, but I'm going to ask anyway. Because there was a trend, and there still is, where kids decorate their graduation caps. And Ron, she came to you. She's an avid Harry Potter fan. And she said, I would love to have like Hogwarts. And she was thinking of a painting.
Uh-huh.
And what you ended up putting together was so surprising. And I have a picture of it, and I'll put it up when we do the edit. But
Yeah.
it was a 3D rendering of Hogwarts that was painted. But what's cool, you went above and beyond and you put LEDs in every window with a little battery pack that she could switch on. And she was over the moon. How'd you come up with that? Like just how long did it
Well,
take you to build, if you even remember?
I oftentimes try and keep track of time, but it's always I come down, I work for 30 minutes here, and I leave it and back for an hour. And, I've kind of learned not to worry about the time and just enjoy the process and keep in mind that somebody's going to get some joy out of whatever I'm doing. And that was one of those projects that, yeah, it started off as what, I can just paint it on there and look cool. But then I started thinking, yeah, we could probably do a little bit better than that for him. So it really grew. most of my
Very cool.
projects, I get 50% done of what I want to do. And I'm always kind of sad that I didn't get to finish on all the other stuff, but I'm a terrible procrastinator. So I get half of it done. Nobody else knows that the other half is still out there in the universe somewhere, but it always turns out pretty good.
That's the life of a creative, Ron. I'm that way with my writing, man. If you've
Yeah,
seen how many scripts and novels that get to 50%,
yeah,
it's the same way. I get
yeah.
some of them completed, but not as many as I want. But no,
Interesting.
I hear you on that front.
Yeah,
So, but she loved it. It was an awesome project that you did. I'll make sure we definitely show it, and
yeah,
it was great. All right, Doug,
yeah.
I'll let you take the next one there.
Yeah. So you mentioned, I believe, making props for kids and friends and family. And now I'm sure your own kids had some really good props for their birthday
Oh,
parties. Could you talk about some of those?
yeah. Jay, you want to talk about that?
Sure. So we actually did Harry Potter birthday parties for a long time because our kids are very much into Harry Potter.
Yeah.
We have every house shield made like one of these.
Very nice.
We have backdrops that you put your swords in, and I mean, just a little bit of everything. We had hanging candles before you could buy them on Amazon. We had them all over our ceiling. Um, Toilet paper tubes with little tea lights stuck in it, like everything you could think of. And then also just having, he would build dungeons in our basement, like cardboard dungeons
That's awesome.
that are just big enough for little kids to crawl through. And then he had like zombie hands he'd stick in there and scare them. And they had a little torch. They had to go through this cardboard tunnel in the dungeon. And I've got the
Sounds
rest of the
awesome.
kids upstairs waiting in line, and they just hear screams coming from the basement. They're like, I don't know if I want to go. Oh, I'm like, you're
Very cool.
fine. Go ahead. And it quickly became very popular. Everybody looked forward to it every year. But yeah, we tend to go a little above and beyond when we go for parties.
Well, I think you could do that for adult birthday parties, Doug. How would you love to
Yeah.
have that?
I mean, November will be here before you know it.
I know. Let's build Doug a dungeon and we'll crawl through it. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
I need a little bit bigger tunnel, though,
A little bit bigger.
unfortunately.
You might need a
Well,
lot of cardboard for us.
Yeah.
over the past 2 years, we actually have started doing escape rooms too. So
Oh,
we help out
I
with
do
the
like
Serve
those.
Halloween charity ball, and we run plans and builds everything for the escape room. I helped run it. Um, but this year we actually took everything and brought it back and put it in our basement, and then let our kids go through it and their
Oh,
friends
that's
go
so
through
cool.
it. And pretty much anybody who wanted to come to our house and do it, they just came over and went through our escape room.
That is so cool. What medium do you prefer to work with, or is it more just about what you're having to build? So, for example, Ron, we were talking a moment ago about the Harry Potter thing you built for Leah's grad cap. Is foam one of your favorite things? Like, what kinds of materials have you worked with? I'm sure you worked with a lot, but what are your favorites and why? And what's your approach and your philosophy on what medium you choose to do things in for
Yeah.
your stuff?
So the main two that I work with is like the pink, they call it polystyrene construction
Mhm.
foam. I like to work with that because it carves really easy. I can shape it into basically anything that I want. And then if it's something I need to make copies of, I can make a mold of it and cast them in plaster. I've done that. But the pink insulation foam was a big one. And then the other one that I like to use is the kind of rubbery foam floor mats.
Mhm.
You get like a Harbor Freight to put that in a
Yep.
workshop.
Mhm.
I like that because you can carve on it. That's what I make most of the shields and armor and stuff out of. So those two are probably the main thing for the big props. For the smaller tabletop kind of props, it's almost always the pink construction foam I'm carving up. And
And he has
And
started
then,
doing a little bit with resin as well.
oh
yeah,
yeah.
Mm.
I'd
Well, you
say
see
that,
a lot. You see a lot of those things that you just both called out. Like when we go to Comic Cons, there's whole clubs of people that make cosplay stuff, whether it's
Yeah.
like you said, weapons and shields, and we've seen all of those. And that was why I asked that question: is like, what's the best thing to work with? And I assume it probably depends on what you're doing. But so
yeah.
is the resin's kind of new that you just started doing that recently, right?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, Cheyenne does more than that with that than I do.
Oh,
Whenever
really?
I make a lot of molds of small pieces so that I can reproduce those, and I almost always just cast them out of plaster. So,
Gotcha.
and when the kids were young, we got really lucky because they went to McIntyre. And at that time, McIntyre Elementary School always had all these different theme days. So we got big into those. So we talked earlier about the kids and stuff that we made for them. We've got great pictures of them bringing in like a giant Dr. Seuss bathtub with a shower head on it.
Nice.
And Steve, we had a wetsuit that we packed in that was packed full and all kinds of fun stuff.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really cool. All right, Doug, you got the next one, buddy.
Yeah. So, making you've talked about working with foam. Do you own a 3D printer? Because that's one of the things I saw this year. And
Yeah.
there was one place at the Comic Con that you could get yourself 3D printed after a fancy 360 photo.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I don't own one. A buddy of mine just got one and he's starting to tinker with it a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, but no, I've not dove into that. And in the crafting world, I'm kind of an old school kind of guy.
Build from
Um,
scratch.
yeah, I did it all from scratch. And like I do scrolls for our games and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't do those on the computer. I usually copy it and then I'll age it out. But I don't, I guess I could get high tech and do it all on the computer and image change
Oh,
and all that
yeah.
stuff. But if I cut and paste it, I'm actually cutting a picture out of something and pasting it on a piece of paper and then copying it. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, looking at some of your miniatures, I mean, the detail work is so fine. I'm looking at the picture of about 6 or 7 orcs. A couple are riding hogs or wild beasts. I mean, do you hand paint all of that little detail?
yeah, I do. Uh,
That's
a few years ago, Jamie changed my world when she bought me these pair of magnifying glasses with a built-in light on it.
Like what the
oh, cool.
Because
jewelers have? Is that like what the
yeah,
jewelers
Yeah.
have? Yeah.
yes. So I started getting back into painting figures, and I was just even with just regular reading glasses, I could not do it like I used to be able to. I was kind of sad about it. So I kind of muddled through for a while, and then she got me those glasses, and yeah. So now I'm back into. I don't go and I don't paint and give pupils anymore like I used to, but they still look pretty good.
Those glasses are a game changer. I have a friend that's really into Warhammer. And
Oh
as you know, so many miniature. That's you could just paint Warhammer figures even and not even play them, and that's what he does. And
yeah,
he got a set of those glasses, and you are right, they're a game
oh
changer and being able to do the
yeah,
fine work, especially as we get
I know
older.
I'll be painting a figure and then I'm like, here, let me borrow your glasses. And I put on because I was like, this looks really good. And I
Yeah.
put glasses on. I was like, oh, I missed so many things. I couldn't see them. And so then having to go back and repaint everything.
yeah,
I know. They're amazing. Like the level of detail that they give you zooming in. They're so cool.
yeah.
So have you both always been artistic? I mean, Jamie, obviously you met Ron. He introduced you into all of the role playing stuff, but what about the art stuff for you? Obviously Ron's a fervent villainer, but where's art played in your life and how does that lead you into a lot of the creative projects that you both work on?
So I am good at if I see something or replicating something. Ron is very much he can see it in his head and out it comes. I need a little bit more of a guide. But growing up, I was much more of an outdoors kid. I didn't do a lot of art stuff. I lived on a farm. I worked. I rode horses. I had school, so didn't leave a whole lot of time for art and board games and different things. But I must
Gotcha.
say, both of our children are extremely gifted in that, and I think a lot of it comes from Ron.
Being exposed to it probably helps. And so yeah. And what about you,
Um,
Ron?
well, I was very lucky. I had a grandma who was very eccentric and artistic. And some of my earliest memories are going with her to like a porcelain painting class at the Columbia Art League and digging out clay out of the hillside to make little dragons when I was, about the same time Star Wars came out, so about 7. And yeah, I was really lucky to spend a lot of time with her, and she was very encouraging to have an idea and go with it. And one thing with our own kids is in doing all the projects, we've kind of made a concerted effort for them to know that, yeah, if you can dream it, you can make it. I mean, we can make it happen if you want this or that. And they've taken advantage of that often for like Ren Fair costumes or projects they've got going on for school, that type of stuff. So I think they kind of have the bug and the knowledge that if they want to do something or make a gift for somebody, they can do it.
That's pretty awesome. Kind of a lost art, really, in today's kind of fast food world, where we kind of forget that if you have an imagination like that, you can make almost anything. It's a lost thing. I know there's still a niche of people that do craft, but you are right. It's not something you see as often anymore.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point.
Now, if I heard you right, I believe you said Etsy. Have you ever thought about doing this as a dedicated profession or maybe just selling a couple things on the side?
I know you guys are
Yeah,
giving things away. You guys are very giving people,
Yeah.
especially after I found out RonCon goes to such good things. But Doug's
yeah,
asking the money question. Like, you guys make such amazing stuff. You really could monetize.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that? That's a great question.
I kind of have a joke with Jamie that I can make anything except for money. So because like if I go to build a shield and I sell that for say $100, which to me seems like a lot of money, but I know in a big world, maybe $100 for a nice piece that's going to go on somebody's game room wall. They don't mind that,
Yeah.
but that breaks down to maybe like $5 an hour or something for me, and
Doesn't really keep the lights on, does it? I guess.
right, right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some way I can speed up the process and maybe make that work, or maybe someday I'll dip my toes into that water. But
Okay.
yeah,
I do think that's part of what makes it such a joy for him, though, is he loves to give things to other people. He
Yeah.
loves
Yeah.
doing things for other people, even if he doesn't know the other people. And
Yeah.
he puts things out into the world all the time that we have no idea where they go, but people enjoy them.
That's
And I
awesome.
think if you were to try and make money off of that, it would take away from some of that joy.
It's a great
Um,
philosophy.
it's definitely something that he just loves to do for others.
That is so awesome. That's a great philosophy. And so, you guys, you were listing, Jamie, just a little bit ago, like all the things that you guys are involved with, whether it's college for kids, you got the RonCon, you've got the D&D club at the high school, just making stuff for birthday parties. Of all of that, and I know this is a big ask. It's probably like maybe asking which one's your favorite child, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And we'll take turns. What is your favorite art piece or creative work that you've put together? And when I say favorite, I mean what maybe gave you the most joy through the process and journey of making it. Maybe
Yeah.
it was the final result, or maybe it was even what you were just saying, Jamie, that feeling you got when you gave it to somebody.
Mhm.
And I'll start with you, Jamie, and then we'll hand it Ron. Like, what looking back at the portfolio of things you've been involved with, which one of your personal favorites for whatever reason and why?
There's so many.
I know, like I said, it's a
Yeah.
hard question. I know.
It is
Gives
a
Ron
hard
time to think.
question.
That's what it does.
yeah.
I think, and I'll, this is kind of broad, but anytime that we're doing things with children,
Sure.
just because the joy that we can see on their face and the just how happy it makes them. When we go to
Yeah.
do D&D days for Project Extra here in Fulton, Ron works with the middle school club, the high school club, our own Missouri School for the Deaf club. We went to a little town north of Kansas City and we ran D&D for a day for the Parks and Rec department up there.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
it's and then RonCon and it's family friendly, so there's tons of kids there, and just seeing the pure joy on their faces. Um, y- yeah, that's it for
That's a good
me.
answer. I like it. What about you, Ron?
That is a very tough question. Uh, I'll give you a couple highlights. I go out and I help with Fulton High School D&D club, and a while back I saw a quote that's something like, "Be the person that you needed when you were their age." And so I kind of look at that, and I look at these kids, went in and met them for the first time, and it was kind of awkward for everybody, but we've really built a great community, and those kids, and I get it from teachers out there all the time that, oh my God, I never see that kid in my class. But when he's here in the club and they're having fun, they're laughing out loud, and it's all friends. And I think giving them or contributing to that and kind of setting up the space that they can build that community, I think that's a great source of pride for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Makes
Yeah.
total sense.
Yeah.
All right, Doug.
I always tease Ron as
Yep.
we go into the high school or the middle school that it's like he's running for mayor because there'll be kids in the hallway, kids sitting on the floor, and they're like, "What's your name, sir? What's your name, sir? High fives!" And they're like so excited to see him everywhere he goes. And Ron's like, "Yeah,
That's
hey,
funny.
you, whoa," just because they're all so excited.
Yeah.
And it could be seeing them at Walmart, it could be seeing them at school, anywhere we see them. Everybody's just so excited to be
Very
around
cool.
them.
Well, I would dare say it's your own magic that you wield in that you can create something out of nothing that is so beautiful. And I think that's what excites people. It is your own
Yeah.
magic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I would dare say. That's probably why people get excited. I can
Well,
I get giddy. I told Ron a long time ago, Jamie, I was like, I'm probably one of your biggest fans of way of your art. Like over the years, my kids bringing things home. Cora would go to a birthday party and she'd bring home this scepter, and I'm like, it's smoking. How the hell did he do that? It's like
Yeah.
things that just it's amazing. So to me, I've always been a sideline huge fan
yeah.
of that, and I think it's that magic. It's that magic that you bring with the things that you create and the creativity that you both have. So I think those are great answers. That's awesome.
That's very nice of you to say. I will say I do think there is a magic to it in that in this day where everybody's kind of isolated into their own little fun worlds, um, whether it's D&D or tabletop games. If you can bring people to a table and those things just fall off to the side and they have that interaction and they build a relationship with each other, I mean that there is a magic that happens.
That is true. Well said. Well said.
Well, we don't want to take up your time too much. Getting back to RonCon, do you have a date set for this year?
We do not yet. We are actually looking at possibly a new location because GoPo
It's
is
growing.
expanding their kitchen. So with that is taking up the majority of their upstairs. And as we are growing and they're growing, it's just not a good fit anymore.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple options we're looking at, but it'll probably be in February is kind of where we shoot for. Usually second or third weekend in February.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of bring you out of the cold and warm up, play some games, I guess.
Absolutely. And we've got our Facebook page, but then I also run a website for it. Um,
Okay.
it has all of the schedules on there. It has all the games that we play. It also has albums of all of our past pictures from our different events so people can kind of get an idea of what we do.
That's really awesome.
Now, when I go to a convention, I like getting the swag, like the T-shirts and the lanyards and stuff. Does
Mhm.
RonCon offer any of that cool merch?
Well, of course.
Awesome.
So the first year I offered a little bit more. It was a smaller community. So we did T-shirts. We gave away cups. And each year I've done lanyards. As we continue to grow, I do a registration. We don't charge anybody, but if you register, then that guarantees you for a lanyard, and it also enters you into a door prize drawing.
Okay.
And so we give away games and things, but we are looking at if I can get it together a little earlier, having like an online shop where people can order shirts or cups or different merchandise. Mhm.
All right, Keith, you want to finish this out here?
Yeah, definitely. So, just when it comes to RonCon, I want to make sure everybody knows. So, it's invitation right now. You're growing. It's invitation within the community. But I'm sure if people are interested though, and they want to check out what it's like, they go to the is that Facebook page the best place for them to go and check those things out?
Yeah.
Okay,
And I also post the website on there right now. We don't have any of our schedules on there, obviously, because we don't have the date.
sure.
But as that time gets closer, I post all the games that are being taught, a little synopsis of the game, a link to a how-to video, so that if they want to check it out beforehand to see if it's something they want to sign up for, it's all on our website as well.
That is so
Very
cool.
nice.
Well, you guys have both been very, very generous with your time. I just want to say that having you on has just been amazing. I feel honestly we could probably talk for like another 2 hours, but
Yeah.
you guys you're into so many things that like are right in our
Yeah.
wheelhouse of things that we talk about. And it's funny whether because we always do a segment of a nerd news, and it's so funny. Like we always go back and forth on whether it's new technology stuff, but we're always scouring the internet for new things, and we always fall into things like what people are doing in the craft space. And I'm always sending Doug like people's D&D rooms, and now the big thing is putting a table in the middle, like or television in the middle of the room, and they
Yeah.
set their miniatures on the television and just change the TV. Like there's all these different
Yeah.
ways they're merging the craft with the modern. Doug and I are always talking about it.
Yeah.
And so when he suggested having you guys on, I was like, this is perfect because we're always talking about this kind of thing. And we would love to have you guys back if you're willing to do so. And I think you guys are magical. I think you're amazing people. Love your
Yeah.
philosophy. Thank you so much for joining us. This has just been an incredible episode, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with everybody and showing some of the things that you guys have been so gracious enough to share with us, including your time. Doug, any other
Yeah.
parting questions or wishes?
I mean, I think you took the words out of my mouth. Ron, I've called you an artist because it really is art. I mean, the detail and the time and dedication and your passion going into all these projects is just amazing. Ron Con. Hopefully, we get an invite next year. I'm super
Okay.
excited. But
Yeah.
I think
you
we're gonna have to
know,
help sponsors because if you guys keep
yeah,
growing, you're not gonna be able
absolutely.
to pay for this. I mean, so
Maybe Wired Nerdy Podcast will have a spot
there
at
you
the
go.
Ron Con.
We'll help
Yeah.
sponsor
There
you
you go.
guys. All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
Well,
thank
thank
you
you
That
so
very
was
much.
great.
much.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
All right.
thank you so much for having us on.
Definitely.
Thanks, guys.